Good morning, Centerville Cougar friends. I have a book to share with you today, and this book is special because it helps us as we think about Remembrance Day and why it's important to acknowledge the veterans and those who have fought for the freedoms that we have here in Canada. Did you know that not only people were involved in the wars, but animals were as well? In this story, you'll see how horses played their part and were very helpful during the war. This story is based on a true story of events that happened during the First World War. So sit back and have a listen and to Bunny the Brave Warhorse. And this book is written by Elizabeth MacLeod and illustrated by Marie Lavrasse. Attention! The police officers sat tall in their saddles. Their uniforms were spotless. Their buttons gleamed in the bright August sun. But no one was really looking at the officers. Instead, an army major was choosing the best horses. Just a few weeks earlier, a war had started across the ocean in Europe. The major needed horses for his soldiers to ride. Even the horses seemed to realize it was a special moment. They stood perfectly still. Their ears were alert and their eyes were shining. "I want all of these here," the major said, pointing to a group of horses. "And of course, this magnificent one." The major was standing in front of a handsome reddish-brown horse. "What is his name?" he asked the police officer sitting high on the horse's back. "We call him Bunny, sir," the officer said. "Bunny?" the major laughed. "That's an odd name for a horse." "It's because of his ears," said Officer Thomas Dundas. "You can see they're a little long, like a bunny's. But he's brave as a tiger, sir." Bunny and many other horses were sent by ship across the Atlantic Ocean to Europe. There were lots of soldiers on the ship too. Tom and his brother, Bud, were there. They had both joined the army to fight overseas. Tom was glad when Bud was given Bunny to ride. Tom knew what a good horse Bunny was. It was late winter by the time the soldiers and horses arrived in France. From there, they arrived to Belgium, where they joined the fighting. Their first day of battle would be one that they would never, ever forget. Bud and Bunny rode toward the fighting. So did Tom and his horse. Suddenly, there were a strange yellow-green cloud. It crept forward over the ground. Then the brothers heard the soldiers in front yelling, "My throat! I can't breathe! I can't see!" "It's gas, men!" shouted a major. "Poison gas!" There had never been an attack like this before. Horses were neighing and squealing. The gas was burning their eyes and throats too. It was many hours before the wind blew the gas away. Bunny and the other war horses helped the soldiers in many important ways. If messages needed to be delivered quickly, the horses galloped as fast as they could. Bunny sometimes carried wounded soldiers off the battlefield and would lift the men onto Bunny's strong back. Some horses pulled ambulances and carts loaded with supplies. When the carts were full of food, the soldiers were very happy to see them. Horses also hauled cannons and other big, heavy guns onto the battlefield. Bud and Bunny worked hard on the battlefield as well. During one battle, it was only noon, but the sky was midnight black. Drenching rain and thick smoke from the guns made it almost impossible to see. Bombs exploded all around. The noise was terrifying. Bud felt Bunny tremble, but the horse didn't try to run away. He was a trained police horse. "That's it, Bunny," Bud said as they charged forward. "We'll both pretend to be brave." The guns thundered and grenades boomed. At dinner time that day, Tom looked for Bud so they could eat dinner together. But another soldier stopped him. "The captain wants to see you right away." Tom headed to the captain's office. "I'm afraid I've got some bad news, Tom. Very bad news. Your brother died in battle today." Tom stared at the captain. He couldn't even say a word. "Bud was a brave soldier," said the captain. "You should be proud of him." After a moment, the captain spoke again. "I'd like you to ride Bud's horse. I believe his name is Bunny." He looks very sad, doesn't he? Dazed, Tom stumbled out of the captain's office. He hardly saw the soldiers around him. Tom just kept walking and walking. He finally ended up in the stable with Bunny and the other horses. "Well, Bunny," said Tom sadly, "we're going to have to do our best without Bud. It's just you and me now." Tom hugged Bunny's neck. Bunny whinnied quietly. He gently nibbled on Tom's hair. I think he's feeling sad too. Rain poured down for weeks on end. It turned the roads to mud. Few wagons of food could reach the soldiers. The men had almost nothing to eat. Neither did the horses. Tom visited Bunny in the stable one night. He noticed that the horse beside Bunny was shivering. The horse had been so hungry it had eaten its blanket. "All I've got for you is this handful of oats, Bunny," Tom said. "I know you're hungry. So am I." Tom rubbed his horse's nose. "Poor Bunny," he whispered. "I chose to come here and fight. No one gave you a choice." Days later, Tom woke up with the sun in his face. The rain had finally stopped. Tom whistled as he brushed Bunny later that morning. "Captain wants you to take a message to headquarters right quick," another soldier told him. "Will do," said Tom, fastening Bunny's saddle. Tom and Bunny trotted out into the sunshine. Bunny neighed and tossed his head. On either side of the road, poppies glowed brilliant red in the sun. "You know, Bunny," said Tom, "I bet this place is beautiful when the war is not going on." On the way home, Tom and Bunny saw some soldiers at one side of the road, in the ditch, with a large cart. "Our horse ran away. The cart slipped off the road," said one of the men. "We can't move it." "The enemy is getting closer," another soldier said anxiously. "We've got to get out of here." "I'm sure my horse Bunny can help," Tom said, jumping down out of the saddle. "I doubt a horse named Bunny could be much use," said a tall, thin soldier with a sneer. But the other soldiers helped Tom hitch Bunny to the heavy cart. You think Bunny can help them? "Pull, Bunny, pull!" shouted the soldiers. With a groan, Bunny tried to move forward, but his hooves slipped in the mud. A bullet whistled just over Tom's head. 2 more hit the cart. "Come on, Bunny," Tom whispered in his ear. "I know you can do it." Bunny tried again. He pulled with all his might. Slowly, the cart began to move. The soldiers cheered as Bunny trudged forward. "That's some horse you've got," the skinny soldier said with admiration. "The best," said Tom proudly. "Now, let's keep moving." On November 11th, 1918, Tom raced into Bunny's stable. "Bunny, Bunny, it's over," yelled Tom. "The war is over. We won. We can go home." Soldiers cheered. Bells clanged. People sang and shouted. After more than 4 years, there was finally peace again. Tom hugged his horse's neck. "We made it. We survived." Then Tom whispered, "If only Bud were here with us." Bunny whinnied quietly. He gently nibbled on Tom's hat. Tom sailed home a few weeks later. No officer on his police force had earned more medals in the war than he did. Maybe that was because no other policeman had a horse like Bunny. Tom's police force had sent 18 horses to help in the war. Of all those horses, Bunny was the only one alive at the end. He did not return home with Tom, though. Like most horses that survived the war, he was sold to farmers in Belgium. But Tom never, ever forgot Bunny, the brave war horse. And there's one more page at the end, which gives a little bit more information about Bunny, Bud, Tom, and World War I. And if this is something you're interested in reading more about, when we're back at school, you can come and borrow this book from me and have a look. So enjoy your Remembrance Day as you reflect and remember the people and the animals who served in the war.